Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox, and we have some great news, some really good news, because there is a particular law that the SNP were trying to bring in, and it was called the Regulation of Legal Services Bill. It was a particularly nasty bit of legislation, which we will look at it, but that has now gone swirling down the fail drain like so much before it. But this particular one, it's great news that this has gone because of what it was attempting to do. What it would have done was give the executive, in the form of the government, the power over the judiciary. Now, in no other democratic country does the executive control the judiciary. You have the three branches of government, the executive, the legislative, and the judiciary, and each should be separate from and independent of the other. But not according to this bill. And it would have meant that basically the whole of the legal profession would have come under the command of a minister. It was known colloquially as the Belarus bill because Belarus is the only dictatorship remaining in Europe. And that is the sort of thing you get in Belarus, where the courts are basically controlled by the government. It would have meant that there would be no independent judiciary and therefore no free trials. And so this has been watered down and U-turned, and that is to the betterment of just about everyone in Scotland. And we'll take a look at it right now. Right, so SNP government in embarrassing U-turn over Belarus legal reforms following judges' anger. Now, this is a very iniquitous piece of legislation which they are now going to drop, or drop in part. And it's very wise to do so. Now, it is always important that the judiciary is independent. It must be answerable only to the people. So what you have is you have your three branches of government, the legislative, the executive, and the judiciary. And basically it is that the executive propose a law, the legislative discuss, change, edit, moralise, and then say whether that law should become a law. And then the judiciary is there to ensure that that law is legal and within the bounds of, the power of the government. So that stops the government bringing in illegal laws that would be damaging to people for no reason whatsoever and things like that. So that you have each of them acts as a brake on the other. You don't allow anyone to have unique power. So to have this law go in that gave basically a government minister complete power over the judiciary, it means a judge could make a decision and a minister could overrule a judge, or a minister could fire a judge because he didn't like what the judge said. And that cannot possibly be right. There's no independence of judiciary then. You've got whatever the dictator in power is. Now, I'm not saying that particularly Hamza Yousaf may use it like that. I'm not saying the next one may use it like that. But at some point down the line, you may get an evil dictator who can change the law, and you could end up in an absolutely appalling situation. So it's quite right that this has been fought, rejected, and is being abandoned. So the Scottish Government's Community, Safety and Victims Minister, Siobhan Brown, confirmed to a Holyrood committee that they might be repealing some of the most contentious aspects of the Regulation of Legal Services Bill. Now, they only might. They haven't actually repealed it yet, but it looks very much like they're going to, because they cannot get this through. They know that it will be rejected, and they also know that this will definitely be a Section 35 from Westminster, because you cannot have any form of executive putting power and pressure onto the judiciary. Nowhere in the world outside of dictatorships does that happen. No independent democracy would ever allow it, and yet the SNP are desperate for it because they don't like the idea that there is a group of people, the judiciary, that they cannot control. They don't like the fact that they can't control them. It really, really bleeds them that this is the case. But it's that lack of control that saves people, that gives people the voice, because the judiciary does not have anyone. It owes no one. It has no paymasters. Anyway, the SNP has been forced into an embarrassing U-turn over its proposals to regulate the legal profession by making them answerable to the Scottish Government. Plans in the Regulation of Legal Services Bill left senior judges infuriated amid accusations that the Nationalists wanted to interfere in the legal system. Some legal figures even compared the new legislation as something which could have been seen in the likes of Belarus, which is run as a dictatorship, Europe's last dictatorship. This is because it would let ministers have control over regulating lawyers and allow them to ban or fine them if they're deemed to break the rules, or indeed upset them, or make the wrong decision, or come to the wrong conclusion in a court case. Complete control of the judiciary by the executive means there's no independent judiciary. But now it's been confirmed that the SNP executive will be amending the bill in the wake of the fury from judges. Community Safety and Victims Minister Siobhan Brown wrote to Holyrood's Justice Committee to reveal that she would be looking to make changes to it when it comes to stage 2. It's set to be scrutinised by the committee on Tuesday after the call for consultation responses ended. She wrote, "There are many benefits of the bill will bring to both the legal sector and the consumers of legal services, and we want to ensure that it strikes the right balance between the various interests." No, you don't. That's a bullshit line. That's an absolute lie. What you absolutely deeply want is complete and utter control of the legal profession, because you need to control everything. You need to micromanage every section, every sector, every job and every person in Scotland. She said, throughout the development of the bill, the Scottish Government has been committed to working collaboratively with all interested parties. Again, a lie, because even at the beginning stage, they rejected this. The legal profession said no, and they kept pushing it. So that working collaboratively is more lies. She said this was including the legal sector and those representing the consumer interest, and will continue to do so during the bill's passage through Parliament. Again, more lies. She said, "We are aware and have discussed with some stakeholders, including the senior judiciary, their concerns about certain provisions in the bill relating to the role of Scottish ministers in the regulation of legal services, which they consider could impinge upon the independence of the legal profession." You can remove the word could and put definitely will. And that's why they put it in, because they want that control. She said, "I've carefully considered these concerns and therefore wanted to let the committee know in advance of it taking oral evidence that it is my intention to bring forward amendments to the bill at stage 2, intended to address the concerns in respect of the role placed on ministers within the bill." And unless that line is taken out completely and it is made quite clear and obviously clear, and without any grey areas where they can come back in and say, oh, well, this was this and this was this, that the executive or the legislative will have no power or control over the judiciary, this must be rejected. And of course, if it isn't, then that'll definitely 100% be Section 35 at Westminster. They will do that without a second's hesitation, because they will not let the Scottish Executive have control over the judiciary. It just will not happen. The main aspect of the legislation which angered judges was the proposal to make SNP ministers the joint regulator of legal services alongside the Lord President. What's wrong with just having the Lord President doing it? This was unanimously rejected by those in the profession, as they claimed it would leave the justice system open to political abuse. And we can all see it, we all know that that's exactly what would happen. It handed the government the power to make appointments and promotions, and also reprimand lawyers and judges, something which is usually done independent of ministers. And of course, that's how it should be. The ministers should not have the power to veto judges. They claimed these plans would create a more efficient legal sector, and that is obviously wrong. That is a less efficient legal sector. That's a more efficient executive, because they know they can do anything they like, and no judge can say that it was wrong, because if they do, the government can just take their job away from them, and therefore, where's the independence? Every legal body consulted all aired huge concerns about these aspects of the bill, with the senators of the College of Justice in Scotland, which is made up of the Court of Session and the High Court of Judiciary judges, said it would undermine the independence of the legal system and also severely damage the reputation of it. And Tory MSP Russell Findlay said a full appraisal can only be made once the planned charges are made public, which they have yet to do because they know how bad it is. It is one of the worst pieces of legislation ever attempted to get through, sneaked through, very shadily sneaked through, deep in the recesses of this bill, which would mean a government minister controlled the whole of the judiciary and had the power to fire judges whose judgments he didn't like. Well done for pulling it, well done for ever spotting it, but you can guarantee that would most definitely have been Section 35 like that. Coming up. Goes to show, doesn't it, that they really are a bunch of shady, sneaky bastards. They tried to get that through, buried deep into the deeper recesses of this bill. It wasn't front page, it wasn't top of the line. This was sneaked in. This was like the third section of the fourth paragraph of the 23rd Amendment. It was all deep in there, hidden. And somebody went through this bill and found it and went, hang on a minute, we're not having that. Somebody in the legal profession was doing their job, and well done to them. Can you imagine a government run by the SNP who could do what they like and no judge could ever say it was illegal? That's what they were aiming for. That's what they were trying to bring in. And they weren't bringing it in by telling people that that's what they were trying to do. They were trying to sneak it in. Underhanded. Devious. It's the SNP. You've got to watch every single thing that they do. And thankfully somebody does. Anyway, that particular little sneaky line has been caught and that's failed. So that's going down the fail train as well. And all these people in there thinking about, imagine Scotland is independent. Scotland won't be independent. It will be a dictatorship if they ever got control. Anyway, I'll stop there. Thank you very much for watching this video. I hope this video definitely has educated you in the way of the SNP. Imagine them getting that power. Imagine them taking control of the judiciary. Belarus will look like a holiday camp. Anyway, thank you very much. Until next time, stay safe, stay well, and never trust these sneaky bastards. Goodbye.